Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video, I want to talk about what to expect for the first implementation of refueling. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support. Also, I can see that almost 43% of my viewers are not yet subscribed. So if you do enjoy my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and helping the channel to grow. So we recently heard from CIG about their intentions for refueling and what to expect with the first iteration of this mechanic. Refueling right now is as simple as landing on a pad or in a hangar and then using your mobiGlas requesting a refuel, provided that it works, of course. Well, there is work going on right now that will evolve refueling more to its intended system, allowing those who own a Starfarer to finally begin making money with it. A few weeks ago, we heard that CIG are now finalizing the design for refueling. The scheduling has been done and the appropriate teams required to work on refueling have been spoken to. They also mentioned that they will need refueling before they implement the pyro system, as there will be far less places to refuel in this lawless system than there are in Stanton. Now, the work on ship-to-ship refueling is on the progress tracker under the EUPU gameplay features team, and work on this system begun back at the beginning of March. But it isn't scheduled to finish until the beginning of September, so there is a good chance that we will see this included in the 3.15 or 3.16 patch, all being well, of course, especially if they are wanting to get it into our hands before we are introduced to the pyro system, which may come this year or early next year. My fingers are crossed for this year though. So how will the whole refueling process work? Well, if you are a Starfarer owner, you will be able to go to a station and using a yet-to-be designed refueling UI, you can fill up whichever fuel tanks you want with either hydrogen or quantum fuel. The Starfarer can be equipped with various purpose-built tanks for either fuels, and then using this new UI, you will decide on how much of each fuel you would like in each tank. Now, something else that they mentioned was that the more fuel you take on board, the heavier and less maneuverable you'll be, as mass will apply. So do bear that in mind as you make your way through the verse, as it will drastically affect the handling and agility of the Starfarer. Plus, depending on the celestial body that you may be landing on, varying gravities will need careful consideration as to not get stranded planetside. But once the Starfarer is full with the fuel and the captain is ready to get filling up those players in need, the captain will need to pay attention to the global chat window, as for the first iteration of refueling, this is how players needing fuel will be able to request it, as simple as asking in global chat. Now, of course, this isn't the final intended method. Eventually, they'll be using a beacon system which will allow players to set the reputation requirements of the refueler before committing to getting filled up or even sharing your location. But for the first implementation, it might be a little problematic relying on global chat to arrange a refuel, especially as you'll likely be in a bit of a vulnerable predicament at the time of making a request. Hopefully, only those in a Starfarer can accept the request and get the actual location of the client, otherwise pirates may take advantage of this. I'm sure CIG will iron out some sort of ground rules and methods for how this will play out. Now, they say the reason for not bringing the refueling alongside the new beacons is purely because it will hold up the refueling mechanic and they want to get it into our hands and test it as soon as possible, which I'm okay with. We will make do. We will learn how to get around it until that beacon system comes in. So let us say that as a Starfarer captain, you've gone to a station and you have filled up with the fuel that you want. Someone in global chat is requesting a refuel, so you coordinate with them and meet them in the middle of nowhere. What's next? Well, they say leveraging the docking system, the Starfarer pilot will carefully navigate the boom arm to the ship requesting the fuel, which will be using the docking UI, but the pilot must ensure not to break the boom arm, as it has been said that it can burst and eject fuel into space, or worst case, ignite the fuel in some way and cause catastrophic damage, so the pilot must be skilled and well trained. Once the boom arm is attached, the fuel transfer UI will allow both players to navigate what type of fuel and how much of it, and at what cost. Now, I expect many of these details could be worked out before the attachment in case an agreement can't be met. But either way, once the negotiations are complete, the Starfarer captain can then designate which tank to take the fuel from, and the crew can begin the refueling process. Now, CIG have mentioned that to encourage more of a skill-based system, they are looking at the potential for each tank to have varied pressures applied to them. And basically, the more pressure applied, the quicker the fuel transfers. But also, the greater the danger, because if you get the pressures wrong, the tank could explode, likely causing very serious damage. Now, I quite like this approach, as it does leave it up to the refueling crew to decide whether it's worth speeding up the process or just letting it transfer at the default speed. Although in some cases the choice might not always be up to the crew. Some reasons to speed up the process and up the pressure could be due to the location. If you're in a dangerous location due to pirates or environmental dangers, you might want to reduce the timescale as much as possible. You could even have pirates or security forces closing in fast, or maybe the customer is just paying a little extra to get filled up quicker as they want to be on their way as soon as possible. Whatever the reason and whatever the process, expect this to be something that you can practice and get better at, learning the tricks of the trade, and eventually make a name for yourselves as a great, reliable refueling crew. Now, some other factors to consider when running fuel is how the environment will affect the fuel inside the tank. CIG said that if traveling to hotter areas, you might not want to fill the tanks up to the maximum. Likely this could be due to the expansion of the gases inside and the pressures building up. But eventually, Starfarer owners will be able to purchase tanks designed for environmental protection, depending on where you're going. Now, CIG are looking into other potential ways to expand the refueling system after its initial release to encourage more thought, planning, teamwork, and skill. Now, personally, I love how the refueling process sounds. The thought of you and a refueling crew pulling up to a station and deciding on what fuel types and quantities to purchase, then just waiting for a refueling request to pop up before heading out to get to work. What I really like about this is how some days may seem slower than others, and I can imagine sitting around the Starfarer mess, chatting and maybe playing games with your crewmates while waiting for a job to come in. Then upon arriving at the ship requesting fuel, the captain and the pilot will navigate to attach the boom arm, negotiate the price, and then the fuel tank operators can change into their external suits, head out on the gangway and begin the refueling process. Now, of course, for the first implementation, the use of global chat and the lack of refilling the Starfarer via gas clouds or gas giants will be unfortunate, but getting the process in like what I described for Tier 0 will be a great start, and then CIG can build upon it from there, very much like they have done for mining. Speaking of which, they did say they have learnt many lessons from mining and refining, which can apply to all of the game systems, which is great to hear. But that is what the first implementation of refueling will be like. Finally giving the Starfarer and its owner a use and a way to make good on their investment. Now, although I don't personally own a Starfarer, I am very much looking forward to running as a crew member and eventually trying my hand at captain at some point as well. But with that said, that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. And if you would like to hang out with me and my community talking and playing Star Citizen, then follow me over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers Ryan. You are all more than welcome. Tick that notification bell if you would like to be part of the notification squad. Hit the like button if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favor. All of the links are below. Thank you again to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.